Mav hot, finished the Mav hot, and well, he carried Megatron. Megatron's not used to be in the backpack, but he carried Megatron in that game. That was impressive. I like that a lot. But either way, Team Alpha moves on to the grand finals. We got one more semifinal coming up a little bit later between Charlie and Delta. But that was good fun.
Yeah. I mean, look, Megatron spent a lot of the season either getting carried by Trauma or Crook, or maybe even Red Chase. But at some point or another, you just got to let the other ones shine. No, I'm just kidding. It's all good fun with Jamie. Hope you had a great graduation today, bud. But yeah, it's a great win for them. Now they're going to be advancing as far as that bracket is concerned. But we got a matchup still to unfold here for the Invitational as far as 4v4 Cold War is still concerned, Alex. It's going to be between ASU Maroon versus Penn State. This is going to be a lower round 3 matchup. And, for Penn State to be able to come out of the gates, I mean, they looked really good in that win versus St. Clair Saints to start off the broadcast when Shift and Visions was bringing you through that action. No, ASU Maroon, they've had their fair share of tough matchups. I mean, even starting on the day for them, they had to go up against Colorado Boulder. They were able to win, and they lost versus Carleton Ravens. But potential for them to be able to make a very deep losers bracket is starting right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, after you go up against St. Clair's and you're able to take that first map, and then you go up against Esports Purdue. We saw Esports Purdue in, the kind of tenacity that they play with against a very, very good Carleton Ravens roster. So them being able to at least take a map off CU Ravens was great in its own right. But when you take down Penn State and send them to the losers bracket, unfortunately, Penn State is, how you say, not a stranger to the losers bracket, unfortunately, after the CCL playoffs where they lost that first round and then had to make the losers bracket one where they went up against Cecil Black and eventually lost that series. So going into this best of 5 against ASU Maroon, we'll take a look at the roster here now for them. You got Bedardo.
Well, nope.
That is not the right roster for ASU Maroon. I was going to say
47 transfer like that?
Yeah, same with Bedard. The whole team. I mean, that is topsy-turvy.
All the Canadians just coming straight to Arizona. I got that's wild. I mean, like, I know it gets warmer over in Arizona faster, and you boys might be cold up there, but good Lord. Yeah, I mean, for Arizona, I mean, this team within its own self has been probably one of the overlooked teams, I would say. They had a great run through CCL, regular season, and playoffs as well. And if you want one more a player to look at more than anybody, look no further than Fishity. I mean, Fishity is lights out. They are that player that is not only potentially leading the team as far as in-game comms are concerned, but KD ratio across the board as well. I mean, they fry, and it goes even past the collegiate competition as well. They pride themselves off of not only being a collegiate athlete, but also just being an overall competitor.
Absolutely. And we'll go ahead and take a look at Penn State's roster as well here. Ken, Johnson, Tased, Shades for the side of Penn State. Once again, we saw them earlier on in the stream where they were able to at least win their quarterfinal matchup, but in the semis, they were bested. So now in the losers bracket, if we take, I guess, a gander at the lower side of that bracket, they played up against the side of New Mexico State University. They were able to take them down in losers round 2. Now find themselves against ASU Maroon. And Proper, you kind of already highlighted beforehand, but ASU Maroon, they were one of those teams that, although they never, I guess, really found it all together and could make that very, very far push inside of the CCL playoffs, it's a team nonetheless that is still going to be scary competition when they're going up against the likes of Penn State.
Yeah, and this is going to sing a lot of the woes that Penn State actually struggled with when it comes down to the regular season and as well as playoffs as well, losing that winners round 1 matchup that, I don't know, kind of blew up everybody's bracket. What was it versus the Mac Marauders that they ended up losing 3? That's just insane within its own self. But it goes back in turn to what even Shift said when they were talking about the original matchup of Penn State versus the St. Clair Saints at the top of the broadcast, that a lot of people were coming through off of the Modern Warfare season where, again, Penn State, formerly known as Penn State White last season for the CCO, were lights out. I mean, they were taking games, they were taking maps off of like Concord and other top teams as well. And that's just impressive within its own self. But they fell short when it came down to 4v4. And a lot of their struggles came through from that pace. Their SMGs were unable to really have a lights out performance with the 74U compared to the MP5 and the Modern Warfare year. And that has been their biggest struggle. And it's something that Fishity and co. could definitely take advantage of as we take a look at the lower bracket and what we're looking at and where we're going. Texas State again versus California State University Long Beach. That black roster is going to be a barn burner to see who will face Esports at Purdue. Of course, the winner of this match will go face the Fighting Illini.
And well, Illini, they get bested by the side of Ottawa Black in the semifinals, which again, we don't really see as a surprise in that regard, but dropping down to the losers bracket, they are a team that's going to cause potential upsets and even be able to take on the likes of the Sea Ravens if they do fall to Ottawa Black inside of that winners finals. However, I have to say this as well. There's no guarantee, of course, that Ottawa Black does win inside the winners finals, but there's also no guarantee that Illini is able to go ahead and beat one of the two teams that they are going to be playing out of this best of 5 series. But talking about map number 1, the raid hardpoint, you'd like to see Penn State come out of the gates hot. Same thing can be said, though, for the side of ASU Maroon, but Penn State, one of the things you were at least able to, I guess, necessarily not struggle with against the Mac Marauders was your hardpoint.
Yeah, that's absolutely. I mean, hardpoint again was probably one of the biggest singing praises for Penn State University. They were 17-2 overall through the regular season. Going back to raid hardpoint, they were 3-0 on that map mode combo. Which again, you think would definitely rely on a lot for the SMGs when you're thinking about this roster as a whole. Not only for Ken, were we able to see a lot of bright spots in that opening matchup, but for the rest of the team to be able to clean up where they're left off as well. I'm mostly looking at Taze. Ken is one of those players that we'll always know will be your sturdy rock, your cornerstone, if you will. But Taze is going to have to be that player that not necessarily has to step up, but has to have a pretty darn good performance to meet the likes for the rest of the team, to keep that pace up of which I was talking about, to meet with what I'm only expecting for ASU Maroon to really come out of the gates, because they are 5-1 here through the regular season for raid hardpoint. It is very well versed for them as well. And I can only imagine that we're probably going to see a lot of blood being spilled for these rotations.
Oh, you'd love to see it. You'd love to hope so, too. Nothing more exciting than a very fast-paced map number 1 that sets the tone for the rest of the series. Of course, we've got Raid, Checkmate, Garrison, and Express coming up after our map number 1 for the hardpoint on Raid. But earlier on today, I mean, we see Penn State be great in the respawn. Can they do it once again here against ASU Maroon? The question, well, it could be answered here. We did in the first maybe rotation to hardpoints if the side of Penn State or ASU Maroon get out to a hot start.
Let's see. And they are starting off on the favorites are Penn State, ASU Maroon. Quickly up the driveway. No immediate presence towards the middle of the map. That's an angle that Penn State have in their favor.
Bectini will fall. Johnson over the top, but it is going to be Coders who is there for the immediate trade. So a pinstripe kill feed leaves AS Maroon back in middle map. Coder is going to be the last one alive, and the contest will follow soon after. But somehow, with Coders being able to stay alive here and towards the point, he can just look back left and right for the couple challenges that are coming from the side of Penn State. And as that player falls and Fishity finds another up towards the top, Penn State unfortunately aren't able to contest over towards point number 1 in ASU Maroon. They'll lock down pretty much the scrap time.
Player number 1 of Fishity is now going to hit the longest of flanks through jungle. So it's going to essentially be a 3v3. You can see that Johnson currently searching for this kill. Coders on the corner. We'll find Taze for free. So trying to threaten the rotation. Shades of the Diamati will find that trade. But again, that's going to force a little bit of a spawn out because you're in possession of P1 for ASU Maroon. Your backside of Laundry is going to force all of Penn State to go towards P3. So Shades is not going to keep their life. And as P2 pops, ASU Maroon are pretty darn close.
Sniff out the player in the back, trying to flank through, but as Taste finds yet another kill in towards the kitchen, they're able to go ahead and knock all 4 of the ASU Maroon players down. So Penn State, they got the back spawns, they've got water steps control and can look at the pillars push. And as Shades gets a couple of shots there on the Sig, although he falls, it allows the side of Penn State to not only know where the side of ASU Maroon is going to be pushing from, but can go ahead and spread out their effective troops accordingly.
And again, this has been a re-break and contest from the front for Penn State. It has caused a very scrappy P2 off of a very scrappy P1. Keeps us at a very even game. Again, pinstripe kill feeds. Nice toss from Johnson with that Semtex. Defectini along with the close spawn for AS Maroon that will stand tall for the scrap time. Penn State, they got to chalk it and rotate. They got players kind of posted up. Penn on the backside of AC will shut down Fishity. So they will be looking at a pretty early setup. But for ASU Maroon, they're looking to threaten it as soon as it pops.
What can you do through the middle map here? You've got 2 players starting to push up and look for the flanking number 5 in Shades to come through and spoil the party for ASU Maroon's push back towards the point. Penn State, ASU, both have had a scrappy game thus far, but as Shades finds 2 with the Krig, Johnson finds 1. Coders will be in the corner staying alive, but not for long. There's going to be a couple players from Penn State pushing, and there it is. Shades finally finds the last kill. So a 3-streak for Shades, looks for a couple more, but we'll find his demise. Point number 3 locked down in the garage for the side of Penn State.
This has been a fortified setup for Penn State, who are starting to build a lead past about 30 seconds. Coders will inchworm Jim their way out of way to try to contest. Coders be able to find any sort of favorable shot. So a minor bit of contest time is all you're going to be able to walk away with. And, well, as soon as Johnson was cut down on the backside of tiles, it comes up to Taze to try to threaten the rotation. But Penn State, I mean, that was effectively a full 50 off of P3, and they're going to be spawning closer for the rotation anew.
I mean, for what's been a very scrappy game of Hardpoint thus far, Penn State is happy to walk away with that good chunk of time and put themselves up by about 30 points. ASU Maroon, though, they found the rotational spawns in at least the beginning hill time for the time being, but with 45 seconds left, Fishity and the rest of the crew trying to come from the water side, and that's one gun that I hope we see a lot more of, because the FFAR not only was a great meta at the beginning of the year, and it was a fun gun to use, if you can control that recoil, it is deadly.
Well, look at how Fishity actually has it set up. And so they're actually running it entirely, I believe, no flak, no tack. So they're not running it as an AR flex. They're actually running it as the mid-AR. And, well, you know, they will lose that effective damage range to a Crick 6, but damn does that thing shoot fast. That medium range engagements are absolutely fun to be utilizing. But ASU Maroon having themselves a whale of a time just when Penn State had themselves a solid 40-50 off of P3. ASU Maroon answer right back with an effective hold off of P4. Going towards the center of the map, Penn State look to zone away ASU Maroon, if not try to keep them trapped on the west side.
Through pillars, Johnson's able to find the first kill. Looks for a couple more from Laundry, but it is going to be a split spawn for the side of ASU Maroon, which once again will set up an artificial pinch play that they can make use of. Shades, though, looking to maybe flank around over towards the water steps, but that FFAR is going to be too good up close. The Prig won't be able to find that kill. However, though, Taze is able to find the trade with a shot punch in tow. Now you're going to look for the last two players pushing in. Effectini will fall to Ken. And Penn State, they've got middle map held down.
Well, the map is, in fact, held down in this very scrappy first set of hills. Is anybody going to be able to hold on to the back 30? Both teams would love to have it, but ASU Maroon just might look to hit through to set up for a second set of hills, but these angles are going to be covered. Ken finds one. Coder's right there for the trade. Just not effective numbers to push all the way inside of P5, nor towards the P2 spawns, but 3 kills come through for Arizona State University. They're not going to actually showcase presence over by P5. They're actually going to take this opportunity to get ring control and back Laundry.
Well, we'll go ahead and reset over towards point number 1. ASU Maroon, they've got the time, at least preliminarily. As Penn State looks to make this push, they want kitchen control, and you've only got one player left alive for the side of ASU Maroon. We'll push up the map, try to play his life just for a bit of time, but the reinforcements are there for ASU Maroon. So you've got Coders, who's able to find one, now make it 2. Ken's going to be there as well, jumping around the corner. Unfortunately, the reload doesn't come through in time. And now the last one alive with Sig, the Craig looking over the top. Penn State is broken into point number 1, and, well, now Ken's on 5.
Ken's on 5, 12 and 8 for them. The potential to play for streaks. I mean, they're being bombarded. They need some help over here, and, well, they will have it. Taze and Johnson are looking over Ken's shoulders. Soaking up hardpoint time will go towards those streaks to be accrued. The gunfights, obviously, and those kills are one of the most beneficial ways to try to get them. Might have one right in front of him. No, Effectini will stop that kill streak. 12 and 9 is where it will stop, but Penn State, they walk away with a pretty good P1, and they're setting up inside of P2, but hold your horses, because ASU Maroon, they're also showcasing their presence, and the break early P2 hasn't even popped.
Well, if you're ASU Maroon, number 1, you take away the potential streaks for the side of Penn State. Number 2, you rotate to the kitchen and break right through the front door. And number 3, now you're holding on, clawing your way back into this game. And with how Penn State were able to hold down P3 the last time, this is time that you absolutely need if you're ASU Maroon.
Totally is, but here comes the break from the front. Penn State in the first set of hills, they were so effective at just contesting from the front and breaking it as well. Ken's the only one to find a kill. Reinforcements will come over by Ring and Red. And off screen, Johnson actually finds a big one on the Coders. They don't take that opportunity to hit through the back. They're actually still trying to flood through the front.
Here they come. Kills at the side of ASU Maroon get here while rotating could potentially spawn the side of Penn State in the back, but we'll just have to wait and see if that is even true, because as Coders comes through and tags at the second and his teammate finds the kill, that's going to allow for ASU Maroon to find the last couple seconds of scrap time, and now they're going to have to start the rotation, but look for player number 6 and Taze. Fishity is going to sniff him out. That's going to be one player middle map gone. That's mid-map presence for ASU Maroon, but nothing really else. But that's what I talked about proper. The kill that they get spawns the side of Taze in the back.
We'll do just that, so now you got to be able to recognize this opportunity for Arizona State to try to flood through, but Johnson will find Sig. Shades another as well, so now this hit immediately stuffed. The opportunity wasn't fully presented and nor executed on top of, but I thought Effectini might have been able to find another big one. Close spawns were still there for Penn State over by AC, so they're able to reinforce this hill. It's still about a 10-point game between these two teams, though.
Fishity, you got an opportunity here to find the one flying through around the corner. You got one. You go for number two. The shots are there. Somehow you stay alive for a little bit longer, but now it's going to be Taze with a shot punch who holds down the time for Penn State. 20 seconds left. It's basically a mirror of what we saw in the first set of rotations. ASU Maroon have the rotation to basketball court. They can hold this down for a full 60 if they can get the kills through the back, but more importantly, keeping that pressure from middle map dormant as long as humanly possible.
Shades, big kill on a fish, and he turns around, but there's just too many red players right in front of him. ASU Maroon will effectively come out on top of that engagement. Again, their P4 on the first set of hills, McCormill, they got a solid 50. You got a 50 here, not only will you get past the 200-point margin, you're just going to be in the driver's seat to close it out in towards that P5. We'll have to see how it plays out. Penn State, at least they're focusing on Kitchen first. The hit through the front, minorly successful.
Tased, 7 in a row. Streaks in the back pocket now. One more will be the cruise missile. ASU Maroon still finding their way inside of point number 4. Here it comes, though. The artillery is going to be used. Raining down from heaven above. Here comes Fishity looking for a couple, but it's team kills that come through instead of players from the side of ASU Maroon. So now as a couple kills come through from Penn State, sure, you've got a couple of kills, but what does that leave? It leaves the side of ASU Maroon in the hill to take the lead as well.
Just like I said, over 200 points, the lead, and they're commanding the rotation over towards New. Johnson with the Krieg 6, that's what I was talking about, the effective damage rate. First bullet aside, that's a tough gunfight. Say comes back, finds 2. Now inside the hill, Coders trying to at least hold their life. There are players for Penn State inside a kitchen. Taze checks not the right corner at all. And ASU Maroon, they're going to be able to have a setup here, but Coders need some help.
Oh, Coders is going to be able to find one, though. Here come the reinforcements over from Zig. Can you push in towards the point? Yes, you can, but it's going to be Shades who knocks you down. Almost is able to find the second, but Effectini will fall. So, with Penn State in the point, both teams still able to win off of this hard point. Contest is going to come through. Taze is going to be able to find one. 225 to 236. ASU Maroon still hold on, but you got to get back to the point because Penn State's looking straight.
Yeah, they can still close it out here. Both teams can, in fact, as well. But ASU Maroon, they're potentially trying to set up a pinch both through the dividers and as well through Zig as well. Taze is under a lot of pressure. And Fishity and Effectini, they will find 2, but it's Ken and Shades that stand tall. Ken has one more challenge. It's CL. Zig, it's trying to hold their life, but that tree is only so wide, brother.
5 seconds. You gotta push in. Johnson's able to find it. Fishity, can you come around the corner? Can you get in towards the point? No, you cannot. Penn State, despite losing a full 60 over towards basketball court and using the streak against your own teammates instead of the opposition, come out with a 14-point victory, secure map number 1, and find themselves up in the series.
I mean, they lost a total of like 115 seconds off of P4. That's how good ASU Maroon were on P4. Just locking down Spiral, having players zone all the way by Powell's, and over in the open staircase, they were always threatening the rotation towards the middle of the map, much like how you saw there. But the problem with that last P5, comparatively to where we were at for ASU Maroon the last time around, was that they had players too far forward inside of Zig. Although you're in control of P4, that's going to force Penn State to spawn closer towards Kitchen, if not closer to Jungle, maybe even Laundry. They're not going to focus the rotation in towards 4 to try to fight for scrap. No, we're going to go towards 5 first. They flood back in. They get the setup. They shut down the pinch. And Penn State, I mean, just narrowly walk away with that first map win.
That was nail-biting down to the T, folks. And if you enjoyed that, you're going to enjoy the rest of the series. Raid, Search, and Destroy up next on the docket. My name is McCormill. Alongside myself is Proper Casts. We'll be back with a lot of great action here from the Call of Duty Invitational. We're back with the Collegiate Call of Duty Invitational presented by Army ROTC. Alongside myself is Proper Cast. I'm a cornmeal. We've got a series on our hands, folks. A 14-point map number 1 going into a Raid, Search, and Destroy. We're back on the same map, but a completely different mode. It's going to play a lot different as well. But if there's anything that's going to hold true, the ARs, they're going to be at the forefront here.
Yeah, they absolutely will be. I mean, coming away, at least from that opening raid hardpoint, I mean, we saw Fishity breaking out the FFAR. That was impressive as well. They also were running a lot of attachments on it as well. So they were running that in a very unorthodox favor. I would probably say all the way up to the pro level. We saw Dasha utilizing it at the AR flex level, trying to find that mid-range AR, much like how the Maddox played back in Black Ops 4. You look a little bit closer towards the level of Collegiate. Look at Mental from LAG Academy, where it was running the FFAR. They didn't find immediate value with it on these servers, but even still, it is nice to be able to see a little bit of a shakeup. But mostly, yes, the ARs for ASU Maroon were locking things down. For Penn State on the other side of things, the same thing could be said. But Ken was also having a great game. And when it comes down to Raid, Search, and Destroy, being able to work those first bloods, yes, the ARs to be able to look over their shoulders to find that entry point of damage. But the SMGs also have to be crafty, have to be creative while they're working these avenues, working these certain these parts of raid. Find those first bloods and to find those avenues for potential flanks.
Well, Fishity over the middle is going to be able to find first blood. Trade immediately comes through there on a technical way onto Coders, and Effectini, well, he'll fall over towards Water Step. Now a 3 versus 2. Penn State takes the advantage here, and as Fishity finds one on the Ken, he'll be the last one alive in a 1 versus 2. Nobody close for the trade to a 1 versus 1.
Johnson versus Fishity. Fishity for the ace. Oh, that was just the craziest timing I've ever seen in my life. So Fishity's going to go prone. I think he heard some glass break, so.
I think so, too.
He knows that Johnson's back. Prowl.
On the prowl. The footsteps are there. Mighty Tiger through the forest. No bomb in hand, though.
They completely eluded each other. I mean, that's just insane.
That was wild, too. Because now you're playing across the map with 35 seconds left. Going for the bomb, you've got to be able to pick it up. But Fishity, wise, playing over towards top laundry. Johnson got to be careful because he knows that there's a potential for the player around in Fishity to hear the bomb be picked up, but no. Guesses right, goes over towards A. 45 seconds left on the clock. Fishity has to retake.
Oh, he's got to plan it for bedroom, too. Put it right behind the hot tub. Yeah, run straight. No, go to open staircase. Okay. Might be trying to threaten the rotation. Fishity should have him right in front. Johnson's going to reveal themselves. Doesn't get the opening bullet. So now they're going to re-put themselves potentially inside of money, knowing that they're weak. Fishity's going for the challenge immediately. Got to find this kill.
He thought he went right side, but Fishity somehow wins it. Body shots in tow. And that's a 1 versus basically 3 clutch there from Fishity to put not only ASU up around, but give them all the momentum in the world, plus the ace on top with the cherry. So now you're working on streaks too, proper. You said it beforehand. Fishity, he's one of those guys. His play is just sexy.
I mean, we go from a numbers advantage, from an advantage that stayed from even holding a pre-fire. And again, you go back to that bomb plant. You almost have to think after clearing out all of the A bomb site from Tiki, basketball court, from the pool side, that you would almost assume to go in top bedroom with an AR in your hand or top money potentially, not knowing immediately where Fishity was located at last. Just a lot of head scratches altogether, but then again, that's why I'm an analyst and I'm not a competitor. We'll have to see if ASU Maroon can keep on with the hot hand off of Fishity's ace. Potential to play for streaks. They will prone wade there towards the middle of the map. Shades for another no will win the gunfight, so no streaks for Fishity.
He wanted it too. That was the biggest ego chow I've seen in quite some time. Although there might not have been a trophy if he decided to throw some text over the top, and maybe that's why Fishity chowed. It remains to be unseen. However, as the bomb does go down over towards A, Shades is going to slow peek around the corner, but Effectini with the SMG beams Shades from the basketball court. Ken now pushing back 2 versus 2. There's Ken. Now it's all up to Sig in a 1 versus 2. Semtex over the top. Shots are there. They can go for the defuse if the other one watches over.
Its shots already came through. You're just going to have a player potentially just try to snuff him out. No, Johnson finds an empty bedroom, and then Sig takes down Ken. 10 seconds remaining. Johnson, not enough time to get over towards the bomb after finding that trade. And that is just a round that you were going to lose sleep over, but ASU Maroon go 2-0 up.
He didn't even try to get back over there.
I just don't think you were going to get there in time.
I mean, maybe not, but I mean, at least it's worth a try.
I honestly think that it would have probably been within about 0.2 seconds, but... You know, it comes down to an old phrasing. Former college student myself. You got to give it one good scholar's try. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely proper. Oh, I really wish you would have went for it. Just to see how close it would have been. But Into, in turn. And we're back on an offensive round here for Penn State. Last time it was a 1 versus 3 clutch from Fishity and an ace. The result's bound to be the same.
Going to throw a couple of shots. They know that a player is closer to open staircase. 4 players here for Penn State. They want this A site. You can see ASU Maroon on the minimap. They're already trying to rotate over to meet this.
Well, there's the trade from Fishity. So he improves to 6-1 on the game. Shades will be spotted out. 24 HP to work with as he flies away. Fishity, Sig, Coders, they can all play together here and just make sure that no one falls without a trade coming through. It is Johnson. It's going to spot Coders out towards that right side. I believe Coders actually spotted Johnson too. So... as the last players from Penn State are just pent up in their spawn. ASU Maroon, they have the bomb in their hands. They can just wait for the push from Penn State, wherever it comes from.
They're just watching. It's like a hawk. over towards from dividers. Johnson will find one, making this a 2v2, but no one read Sig from the back. Find Chase, now it's up to Johnson, 1v2. Like you said, the bomb was given up. We've been here before, Johnson. Let's go ahead and clear out Tiki real quick. What are we going to do? I'm on the edge of my seat.
I am too. I'm leaning forward. But here comes play number 7. Shots from behind. I thought Johnson might have been able to escape, but takes a little bit too long to get the bomb down, and ASU Maroon once again will capitalize on a faulty push from Penn State on the offensive side. This time it's more clinical than it is a miracle. However, they're up 3-0.
This comes down to this opening engagement. I mean, ASU Maroon, not only are they finding a lot of early damage, more often than not, they're walking away with that first blood. And, you know, although Ken was able to find it early, a lot of early damage from that 4-player run underneath Kondo effectively meant that there was nobody looking through the middle of the map, and that's what came back to bite Penn State in the rear. Fishity back to their old ways. We'll find first blood again. It's a quick trade. That same thing happened just 2 rounds ago. To see if it will garner any sort of success for ASU Maroon like it did the last.
So close, yet so far. Ken isn't able to spot out Effectini, and he can just run back to safety with the rest of the team. A 3 versus 3 retake. The post-plant setup for the side of ASU Maroon is looking fantastic at this point. Taze down the staircase looking for a couple, but with 30 seconds left, you've got to make the plays.
Oh, that nerdy angle. Taze won't find much of anything. 20 seconds remaining. Got to try to make the play. Nobody towels. They're all top Kondo. Taze will find one, but now time becoming the immediate consideration.
And you don't realize there's one player in the middle map too, but there's an opportunity to get the defuse here around the right side corner. Here comes Coders. Not enough time for the kill and the defuse, and although you're able to get it, you're not able to take the round. So yet again, another round where ASU Maroon played time to perfection, go up 4-0 in the S&D, and you saw a great close first map. This has shown absolutely nothing of the same degree, and that's all thanks to ASU Maroon always making the great plays.
Again, it's coming through. I mean, Fishity finds that first blood. Of course, they will be traded out, but there was no immediate pushback over towards the A zone. All of Penn State were so heavily invested in the middle of the map and towards B. That's 2 offensives now that ASU Maroon have found value in working their way towards A, even in a post-plan setup. It's so hard to break. Not to see what Penn State can alter on their defense coming all the way through. Yeah, Ken, you are not safe there. You know that those AR bullets coming through from Fishity will ring you true. Bomb carrier of Taze is just hanging low. Be looking at a couple pieces of art to bring home for themselves. Just fishing for information right now for Penn State.
The stench of Ken in middle map was enough to get those initial shots through from Fishity. So as Shades and the rest of the boys go over towards water, maybe to rinse that scent off of them. They're going to be able to find that first blood. Effectini will fall. Fishity now here for a potential trade. Can you find the kill? You got one onto Johnson. You get the second shot onto Shades, but Taze is there to clean you up. 3 versus 2 Penn State. For the first time in forever, they're in the driver's seat for a round.
Ooh, Shades, quick trade on the Coders. It's all up to Sig. 1v2. Put themselves in top money. I don't think Shades actually threw a bow in time to be able to see Sig rotate all the way out. The position on the map would suggest probably not. Sees Ken over in bedroom. Gonna find a couple of shots, but also gonna deal with Shades inside of Tiki. Yeah, they'll go ahead and find that kill scot-free. Penn State put themselves on the board.
ASU Maroon won 4 in a row. Why can't Penn State do the same? Well, I'll give you one answer. Because Fishity and the boys have been getting first blood after first blood after first blood, and even when they don't get the first blood, the clutches seem to come out of nowhere. One good round for Penn State might not be enough to really get that catalyst in motion to make this machine be able to force a comeback proper. As we look into these next couple rounds, round number 6 about to be in our hands. On the offensive side, they made a lot of great aggressive pushes. Where do you think they're going to go here?
I think that we might see a lot of a mid, if not a B push. Yeah, that's going to be the case. Again, ASU Maroon they have dedicated their push towards A handful of times. You'll have Shades, the lone defender there. 2 players for Penn State in the middle of the map, but ASU Maroon is severely threatening this B site.
Well, here comes that aggressive push. This time doesn't work out. Taze is able to find the first blood. Sig will fall. 4 versus 3. Coders almost able to find the kill up in towards that staircase, but now a 4 versus 2. Make it a 1 versus 4 Fishy. Don't do it once again. You can't find the first kill. Penn State, a quick round. 2 in a row. Only down 2. One more from ASU Maroon will put them at match point.
Yeah, and that round was very unique within its own stuff, right? We finally saw a dedicated push coming out from ASU Maroon over towards Ring. There was no real presence for the middle of the map, not even an AR spam. I didn't really see much through the Zig wall itself. But they left middle of the map open again. Penn State, they put 2 players dedicated there from Kitchen. That is your dividers control. And although ASU Maroon are having presence over towards Ring, that is technically the low ground from up top where the B site does reside. 2 rounds in a row for Penn State. Semtex can just barely keep their life.
Well, almost a popcorn nade there, but fortunately enough for the side of Penn State, they don't get ripped off the board until Fishity from middle map is able to find the first blood. Back and forth they go. 2 lives off the board, 1 for each team. And now Penn State, they've got at least an advantage over towards B with the man angles, everything in between, at least in their favor. Fishity, some shots there from middle map. Johnson and Taze looking to push up just a bit on the map, but you've got ASU Maroon players all the way in towards the back, so if they get a little too careless and start to make that push up towards Laundry to secure a line of sight over the bomb, you're going to have to go through 2 players.
Oh, Johnson just wanted a stun check, but Invitational will be there for the challenge. Taze, though, for 2. You talk a lot about that second player to find the trade. Taze says, yeah, I'll do one better, but Fishity's, they got an AR. Up in top red, now we're down to 24 seconds. It's Ken versus Fishity, but Ken with the Crick 6 on the back box will win the gunfight. Penn State for 3 rounds in a row, and again, this was all off of a very, very well-placed Semtex. I don't know who threw it for ASU Maroon, but that found tons of information over by the driveway. But they were unable to capitalize on top of it. Penn State, you almost thought, if you're looking at it from ASU Maroon's perspective, that they were going to push through. No, they didn't. They just posted up on Ring. They knew that they didn't have middle of the map presence and just baited out the unforced errors. But Taze, for those 2 kills, really made that round happen.
Farmers, take a look at the kills for ASU Maroon right now. Fishity's going to get yet another, so now he has 2 more kills than the rest of his teammates combined. Same. And if that doesn't tell you why that they're up 4-3 in the S&D right now, I don't know what does. Effectini, though, you're going to be able to push out here. You've got first blood in the round already. You've got the bomb going down now. Penn State, you want to win this round. It's the biggest round of the game, not only for your team, but for potentially the series, especially with ASU Maroon getting back to another control potentially on their host.
It's the recipe, man. Nice Semtex from Sig. Effectini will take down Taze. Ken, not even a shot in the dark to try to make it past that statue of open staircase because middle of the map was consumed by ASU Maroon off the rip. And there's that first one again. It almost feels like every time, besides one offense, Fishity makes this challenge. And they're able to walk away with first blood. The difference was they were able to keep their life and then push through towards Ring. Or that player finding that last kill. But it's ASU Maroon's A push. They were able to find that first blood from Fishity towards Kitchen. Effectini gets the bomb plane over towards A. They got a trophy system to keep themselves safe. And you got 2 ARs over by the bedroom. That's a recipe for success. So now Penn State, a much-needed round. That'll win the next 2 to send it to a round 11. Ken for first blood. No, that's a trade. 3v3.
Either way, sniffs out the player flanking from middle map. So with that, they've got a 3 versus 2 over towards B. They don't have bomb in hand, but it should be the player in Shades who's able to pick it up. Just kidding, it's Johnson. As they start pushing up the map, Shades is going to be the aggressor here. Get some shots on decoders. Somehow wins the gunfight, Fishity. Oh, Fishity, can you do it once again, baby?
He's on 3. There's number 4. Challenge for number 5. Won't be able to find it. Woo! Never count out Fishy. You know, won on that one both those engagements. Afar won one of those engagements. That's just me though. Just saying.
Down to 5 proper. 5 HP.
That's insane. I mean, what are they up now? Yeah, 14-7 double positive for them. Again, still leading their entire team, beating the other 3 players behind ASU Maroon. 1 round differential, but Penn State, I mean, the cusp of sending it to a round 11. Just cannot let Fishity find this first blood. Last time ASU Maroon, they pushed over towards B. It was immediately stuck. Shades will find Fishity this time.
You said it yourself, proper. You can't let Fishity find that first blood. He's made that same play multiple times on offensive rounds where he lays down, peeks his head up. That time, though, Penn State, the wiser than the Chow immediately out to middle map. Effectini. What can you do? Taste on the flank is going to be able to find one. So that's a 4 versus 2 immediately. But from inside Art, Sig is there. So at least you stop that player flanking from taking out another one that's already pushed up. But Ken, he doesn't realize he's got player to revive and Effectini right below him.
Yeah, but Effectini's they got to make the pop-up play. They're the player that has to push out Laundry if you want this deep middle to come all the way through. And Johnson will find Effectini just crab walking their way up the stairs. Sig will find one, but to their ultimate demise will be the round for Penn State, who answered back with 3 in a row to send it to a round 11. And, as a caster, I always pride myself to say that just as a narrative, but, Penn State are again, just really showcasing that it's really all just Fishity. Sig is right there to find themselves a couple of trades. Effectini is your bomb carrier. But if Fishity can't find that first blood for the offense, again, in 4v4, a team that finds that first blood on Raid, Search, and Destroy more often than not walks away with the round. ASU Maroon on round 11, going back towards that A push. Penn State, they have snuffed it out, but Sig finds first blood. They find a second.
It's not how you start, it's how you finish. Sig picks up 2, but Taste is there for an immediate trade. Sig from the hot tub looks for the kill. Fishity in middle map will find it in what should not have been a round 11. ASU Maroon finally does come through and pulls through, but proper. That one, that got me a little congested inside. I'm not exactly sure how I should feel after that one.
Yeah, me neither. To be completely, Fishity was just almost doing everything, and you got to see again. It wasn't anything too crazy coming out from ASU Maroon. All the offensive rounds that they were able to find, they continuously try to push over towards A. That same exact round 11 and goes back to a round number 4 offense for the side of ASU Maroon, where they were able to put Fishity. They were able to find that first blood over towards Kitchen. That round 11, they completely dismiss it. They don't even try to go for the challenge. They just push immediately through red. And that's the flank, again, that Penn State were never set up for, as they knew that they were getting bulldozed over towards B. They already lost 2 kills. It's just so tough to try to deal with it and combating it against at a white-hot Fishity. Yeah. We saw it all regular season, somewhat at least through the playoffs as well. And Fishity is just truly one of those players that could really make any game mode topsy-turvy.
Well, it might not have seemed close, but it was. Same thing with the hard point. That was also very close as well. So we have both raids out of the way. We go to a checkmate control here, proper. Now, I have to ask you this out of respect for the side of Fishity and Co. on ASU Maroon. They weren't able to win map number 1. They should have won map number 2 when it was like 6-2, 6-3. They don't. It gets to around 11. When we go into a control, when we go into checkmate, who does this map really favor more? Is it ASU Maroon after a hot S&D, or is it Penn State who have found their rhythm once again?
Well, look, if we're talking statistically and historically from at least what we have to offer for us for stat lines, I got to say that it's going to be Penn State. Through the regular season, they were 16-1, 9-1 on checkmate control. They are well-versed on this map mode combo, but when you think about checkmate as a whole, what is it a giant playground for? Nothing but ARs, baby. But here's the kicker, though, is that one player can't just continuously go off. You can't just effectively work your way for the zone in a 1v4 continue. You can. We saw 47 do that in the previous match.
True.
And it can work, but it's not without a benefit from your team to back you up. To be able to find those trades, to be able to work your way forward middle of the map presence so that way Fishity can hold those longer lines of sights. You're mostly looking at the other members for ASU Maroon, not necessarily to step it up, but to keep on pace. Same thing that we saw from that hard point to start off there on raid. Effectini was able to find a lot of good opening engagements, and that could also transcribe going into the opening breakoff versus Penn State, who again are well-versed on this map. Their SMGs have definitely been a little bit more consistent and yet somewhat more electric. The opposing side of ASU Maroon, that's something you got to be aware of when it comes to the dominance of that middle of the map.
Well, you've got Fishity, who's hot. One thing I got to point out here for the side of ASU Maroon, which is a good pointer for them, Sig did start to heat up at the end of that game.
They did.
You saw him get 2 kills in that final round, following a resurgence in those last 2-3 rounds where he got back to 8-8, I believe he finished the game at. So going even after, 3-7, I think, in that game at one point, that's huge. Because not only is that another AR that you can put in tandem with Fishity on control, but one thing that you have to have happen here, and this is a must for the side of ASU Maroon, is although 2 ARs can carry you in a map, your SMGs have to be strong and have to be aggressive in towards top lane, or you will lose this map tenfold.
Yeah, so what does that mean exactly, right? When it comes down to control, and what that means specifically is that when your ARs are finding those kills, your SMGs, that's your front line. You have to push forward, you have to take the map, and yet doing that at the same time denies it away from the opposition. This doesn't necessarily specify for offense or defense. It works both ways when it comes down to control. And that little aspect right there was actually something that I wrote down and is very noteworthy coming through from Penn State. You go back to that Garrison control that they played versus St. Clair Saints at the top of the broadcast. Say what you will at the level of competition. I don't care, because what Penn State were able to showcase so effectively, not only was the flexibility for Ken, who picked up a third Krig, and then opened up the floor and became rather aggressive with it too, they were continuously denying the map away from St. Clair. And that's something that you have to be able to bring in towards checkmate because, again, it is a lot of open avenues. What is your main focal point when it comes to denying the map? It is that playing control, baby. Playing control, playing control, playing control. You could always put a player onto the flanks, maybe inside of blue, orange, over by Tetris. Doesn't really matter, but as long as you have an SMG, so potentially to have a double weapon setup off of that first kill inside the plane, that is so many opportunities to be able to capture both.
Probably, I will say this, right? You know, if maybe Fishity has a lot of great presence with that Krig right out of the gate, and so does Sig. Maybe you have Sig play that Krig for a lot of the map. Maybe have one of the SMGs who might not be playing as well switch to a Krig, and then Fishity can pull out this at least the FFAR because that offers a little bit more in terms of aggressive pressure compared to what you would have with the Krig. And since he has been playing extremely aggressive throughout the first 2 maps, if you allow him to pull out that FFAR, maybe pull one sub away, although that's going to and maybe not necessarily give you the upper hand advantage when you're pushing towards a point on offense or defense. You're at least going to have a bit of a multifaceted ability to control the pace, but also sit back and maybe find a couple of those long range kills as well. So that might be something that they could have on the docket eventually. I don't know.
We know it's also interesting too. I mean, this is completely digressing into a whole different talking point too. But I mean, Fishity was already showcasing the FFAR. So let's say that you do pick up that third AR, right? And to say that it's going to be your SMG flex that then picks up that third AR. Again, go with me here. That then you have Fishity that then can play that FFAR on the tac flak lifestyle, drop the sight, play it more of that mid-range. You can actually find a lot of value with 3 ARs in an instant caliber like that with that mid-range FFAR. Again, it's all speculation. You know, this is all just a pen and paper. Again, a lot of teams have tried to, even on better servers, look at Optic Chicago. They found absolutely no success in trying just that. So we'll have to see what is on the cards here for these 2 teams. On the offense, first, it will be ASU Maroon. We're going to have 2 players try to work their way inside the plane. They find the opening 2 kills, and that's a great first start.
And the series were completely even around here, and round number 1 would be huge for either of these 2 teams to take solid advantage of the aggression and momentum out of this best-of-5 series. Coders will waste no time getting off to a nice start. 2 kills with the SMG. And although it's early on in the game, that's exactly what we wanted to see. That was our talking point that we had coming into this game. The SMG's getting aggressive and being able to find those initial kills, especially up and towards the top of the plane.
Again, if it comes down to opening breakoff, you don't find it convincingly the reinforcement for the defense, they will be there pretty darn quickly. Sig, that was an aggressive challenge, and walks away with it. Won't have any teammates help at all. Where are they? They're quite literally trapped in their spawn. I mean, you got Ken playing the exits. Taze is going to be that player that will push inside of blue. Going to try to just block a couple of the spawns, just annotating to their team that, yes, all ASU Maroon are coming out of P2 to try to contest that A zone with 25 seconds.
Here comes the push. Effectini's there, Sig is there as well. No trophies to go ahead and counteract that, so one player will fall somehow. Effectini is still alive. I don't know how, but Johnson once again comes around the corner, gets Fishity, but the body shots there are going to cost him his life. That might get him going just a little bit here inside of this game. However, on the flip side, we do have a couple players inside of the plane for ASU Maroon on the offensive push. They're over towards B, looking to make a splash.
Well, Johnson, you finally got the payback from that 1v1 loss in round 1 of Raid Search and Destroy, so now we'll have to see if it carries on over. 12.1 seconds, presence on towards both zones. Sig's going to be that lone player over towards B. They will drop. Now it's all up to ASU Maroon to try to desperately touch one of these zones. It is an even life count, but you are just so far away from these zones and all of the cross angles in total. Well, started off as a great breakoff for ASU Maroon. I mean, they walked in, they found the first blood. Hell, they found a second as well. It was only one trade that came all the way through, but what does that mean for the offensive team? You can't necessarily have the setup judging on what the players are going to be looking at coming away from your scrims or any sort of practice. You have players that would love to try to get presence over towards the A zone, but they ended up dying. You have players that are trying to play for the middle of the map and try to zone away. They're the ones that are left alive, and they have to go ahead and try to make that play towards that A zone. It becomes a whole bunch of discombobulation. ASU Maroon just can't really resurface back from and stay walk away with that opening defense.
Defensive side, ASU Maroon. What's the setup off the break? It looks like you're going to send a couple in towards plane, as you should be doing. 2 players will go over towards A. One's going to hop up towards that top gray crate. And I'm not sure if Taze spotted them out or not just yet, but Coder's playing passive allows for Ken to push up through the top lane. That gives them control, but here comes Johnson. Now a chance to cut down Coders. Coders around the corner will find the kill. Although Proper, you talked about it beforehand. We talk about it all the time. That opening break is so big. ASU Maroon looked like it favored them last time, but they weren't able to come away with the round.
A lot of presence on that A Street, though, for Penn State off this break. Their SMGs, along with Shades, is finding a lot of value. Tased will live at 22 HP. Gonna have some help here from reinforcements. The second tick of progress will be confirmed. And ASU Maroon, I mean, you might just have to chalk this.
And that's exactly what it looks like they're going to do, unless they have one more pinch from middle map here. You don't want to lose as many lives as you're having taken off the board at this junction, but as Penn State finds a couple more, now you can either hit back through middle map here, find a couple of trades, or just bait out a teammate who's pushing up the A Street and get back over towards B. Fishity, you're going to be the first one here, and well, not for long, because Shades is there with a Craig ready to stomp it in your face. You got Sig over towards... well, never mind. Sig is dead, Coders is dead, everybody's dead. Penn State's up on B with nobody even close for contention proper. That was one of the fastest breaks I've seen from Penn State.
Yeah, and again, ASU Maroon spoon-fed them with a silver, a gold-plated spoon, and gave them the opportunity to be able to work a couple of spawn kills in the immediate rotation over towards the B zone. It's just Taze up on the top plane. They're going to be able to find themselves 2 more kills, 10 and 4 for them. Effectini trying to block for here by the landing gear, but I mean, you look at Penn State, 21 v 12, a minute 38 left in the bank. Pick your win condition.
They gave ASU a lot of credit. They came off a spawn. They were able only to give the side of Penn State 1 confirmed tick and then deplete the rest of the progress that they had for about half of tick number 2. So, credit where credit is due. Now, though, you've got another player pushed up on towards B, looking for a middle map push, and player number 2, that's going to be Effectini, who is there. It's going to be ringing around the rosy for both those players. However, once again, we're going to see the zone be depleted back to 1 tick. Penn State back in their spawn. Life advantage, it's not as large as it was before. Still big in that regard, but manageable.
It is very manageable. You look at what ASU Maroon are doing so well. They're just working their way inside of the plane. It is manageable. 2 lives, the disparity between Penn State and ASU Maroon. Penn State 1 good gunfight away from getting presence over towards that B zone, but they will not work out of their spawn scot-free. Shades is at least trying to find at least a trade, and that's going to be Sig inside of blue. Now you're just a 1 life lead here for Penn State. 40 seconds remaining. That first Sig progress at B is just taunting them.
Still play your lives here. Still 7-5. 1 more death for the side of ASU Maroon will give them no respawns remaining, and that's exactly what will happen as Teeny falls. So now you start to move over towards A. Taze gets around the corner, but Fishity is there. Coder's in towards top plane. Shades is there with the 74U and the 7 techs to go along with it. 4 versus 3. That's a huge gunfight there onto Fishity. 3v2 now. Back over towards the point. Sig and Effectini, the last 2 alive, looking for kills. Taze pushing up. Johnson is there. Can you find yourself on the point? Here comes the contest. Here comes the gunfights. Taze finds 1. Sig, last one alive. Can you clutch the 1 versus 3?
No. No, they cannot. And again, you go back to, it got really close, probably a lot closer than Penn State really wanted it to be. I mean, Effectini was just playing their life around this B wing just so wonderfully. And again, off of ASU Maroon, off of a very questionable attempt to try to recontest the A zone when it was just a hairline away from completion. They were able to bounce back, much to what you were saying there, McCoy Mill. They were doing a great job of just always circulating through the middle of the map, not letting Penn State work out of their spawn just so freely, but it was just 1 good gunfight that Penn State needed, even though it was exhausting a lot of lives on both sides. You just cannot contest the zone at that last point in time because it is very easy to work your way towards the spawn as an offensive team.
Hard point was close. Penn State, they've won these rounds relatively convincingly until the very last one. It came down to the wire, and the disparity of lives really dwindled at the end. However, they found themselves with a 2-0 lead here, 1 round away from taking this 3-0 and being able to move up 2-1 inside of this best-of-5 series. Remember, folks, this is a loser's bracket matchup. ASU Maroon, Penn State. Either of these teams, if they lose this best-of-5 series, they are knocked out from contention for the rest of the Invitational. Right now, Penn State in the driver's seat in this game with ASU Maroon holding on strong over towards B with 2 ticks.
2 ticks will come through. Sig finds another one on the Shades. It's going to be a 2-player stack here as well. No, I'm going to finally deal with it. They work their way in. Stop that last tick of progress coming through. What a great opening break from them, though. Not able to walk away with a life lead with the 2 ticks of progress. That is the harder zone to try to capture. So ASU Maroon would love to try to focus their way towards the A zone now. Coders actually shifts their focus away from the middle of the map control. Drops over towards B. Might be a little bit of a misplay as ASU Maroon were trying to go for that double-edged sword for both the edges of the zone to walk away with an unfortunate gunfight loss, and Penn State now have map control.
We talked Fishity going into this map. Unfortunately, Fishity has not been able to really carry that same merit that we had kind of granted him throughout those first 2 games. It's okay if you have an off game with the rest of the team. At least for the time being, has somewhat substantially picked up the pace just a little bit, but you're still down 0-2 on the offensive side. One last try to push either towards B or A. You've got 2 kills down, and Fishty really is now starting to crank it up just a bit with 2 in a row. You'd love to see him maybe find a couple more inside of the spawn. You're looking for the cross initially. As Penn State breaks back through middle map, B will be secured, and an extra minute will be added to the clock.
Johnson, nice kill on the Infactini, though. Not going to let that SMG stay alive on the front line of things. 60 seconds have been achieved here. There is Maroon after that B capture, so now you got to focus over towards that A street. But Penn State, their 3-life lead, the knowledge, you don't have to push forward here, knowing that it's just one break off that ASU Maroon need. Just try to zone them away. Just exhaust time, having ASU Maroon guess all the corners that Penn State are located at.
50 seconds is not a lot of time to work with on the offense, specifically when you have a couple players already going down in the spawn trap as well and capable of being had, specifically the top lane control belonging to Penn State. Fishity, though, you've got the kill with the Krig. Now the rest of the players starting to push up the map. Coders looking back over towards top lane. Can you find the shots on the Johnson? You can, but can you finish the kill? No, is the answer. Never mind! He gets him with the Semtex, so back under towards bottom of the plane. You got one there. Diamante shots come through, 11-8, but they're on the zone. They've got a tick and a half of progress already.
Penn's going to contest it. We'll find Infactini. Challenges it around the side. Knows that there's players communicating them from the opposite side of the street, but it's Sake and Fishty. The ARs of ASU Maroon will be challenged by Ken. Another engagement. They're just way too weak to be able to win that one. Johnson for the flank will be traded out by Infactini. 24 seconds remaining. That will be where the clock is going to be stalled out at.
5-5. Half of A already gone through. Fishity barely wins that gunfight, but it's Ken going to be there for the trade onto Fishity. 4 versus 4, 3v3 back over towards the point, but you've already got 2 ticks of progress. They're stacking the point. You've got to fly. You've got to contest. You got to contest, and the contest comes through, but it's just going to be, I thought it was too little too late, but Ken and Shades break through to find a couple kills. 3 versus 1. Fishity, you got to clutch for the control.
Gonna crouch like a tiger, pounces. We'll find Taze. The headshot multipliers are going to be a trade. Got 8 seconds to be able to find these. Johnson, what are you? No, Johnson. Wait, Fishity. Hell, he needs one more. It's going to be Ken. Where's Ken located at? Closer towards P2. Ken's going to go for the slow challenge. Knows that Fishity is here. Goes for the challenge, and the 74U at that range should absolutely win that gunfight. And stay white with the 3-0 here on checkmate control. Will win it out. They're going to get up a leg in the series 2-1.
And Proper, that was a great challenge there to get back onto that zone, because really what Fishity was kind of thinking right there is, all right, when he gets on the zone, unless he comes from middle map, I'm going to be able to know exactly when the player gets on. However, plays it perfectly to where he slides around the corner instead of just like, slow peeking onto the point. And when he's able to do that, although the aggression might not have been able to pay off, you already have a 2-round buffer. You're able to slide around that corner. You get that kill, but more importantly, Fishity doesn't have enough time to recognize that the contest had come through. You win the round, you win the control in a convincing 3-0. Now you're up 2-1 in the series, going to a Garrison hardpoint where you're able to take map number 1 on a raid, which plays, I guess, somewhat similar to the side of Garrison. But overall speaking, Penn State, they're looking nice.
Yeah, and that entire first push, too, as far as an offense is concerned for ASU Maroon, that was actually all on the back end of Fishity. They made that push actually underneath, past the B zone with Infactini. They got themselves up on top Tetris and was able to gun down at least 2-3 players for Penn State. And again, we were talking about how we needed a consistent performance for Fishity. It wasn't necessarily there. Infactini had themselves a lights out performance. It was actually able to get themselves a handful of streaks. So take that as you will, as the warehouse of checkmate is very hard to find value with that as well. Penn State, again, as far as team chemistry is concerned, like I was talking about, they were able to find themselves a handful of kills, plus the map control, and this goes on both sides of things, plus that recontest there in that final round. I mean, that takes a lot of trust. I cannot believe that Shades got there in time. More importantly, I cannot believe that Ken found that trade as quick as they did.
Folks, one more map separates ASU Maroon from being out of contention, enforcing a map number 5 on the flip side. Garrison Hardpoint up next after our break. I'm McCormiel. That's Proper Cast. We'll be back with the Collegiate Call of Duty Invitational presented by Army ROTC. Well, it's been a fun best-of-5 series so far here between ASU Maroon and Penn State. Folks, welcome back to the Collegiate Call of Duty Invitational presented by Army ROTC. I'm McCormiel. On my side is Proper Cast. We've got a Garrison Hardpoint coming up between both of these two teams. AS Maroon, it's their last chance to keep the series alive, Proper.
Yeah, and it's going to a Garrison Hardpoint too. And if you're looking at it from ASU Maroon's perspective, throw everything out of the window from what you did in the regular season. On the map mode combo, they were 2-2. on the day, Penn State did beat St. Clair Saints 250 to 222 on this map. And when you go back to it, it's almost kind of the same thing for rate hardpoint for Penn State. Not effective on a few different money hills, P4 being that money hill that ASU Maroon were able to find a lot of value with on that rate hardpoint, but it's the breaks, it's the setups, it's all of the timing that Penn State were able to find on that Garrison hardpoint. I know that it was a very close one versus St. Clair Saints, but when you're effectively keeping the lead at about 30 seconds over and you're always winning rotations, you're always turning to breaks, I mean, that's a win condition if I've ever seen one in hardpoint for Penn State.
Yeah. Well, one thing Penn State needs to do here, which we saw on Raid Hardpoint twice, is it lost them about 115 seconds, too, as you highlighted beforehand. But don't let them get 2 full 60s on one specific hardpoint. Last time, it was the basketball court where ASU Maroon chalked 2 full 60s together, essentially, and were able to almost make the comeback of the year. But Penn State, on the reverse side, to the caveat of that, just work on your breaks here. Communicate, take your time on these, and most importantly, don't streak your teammates.
It's a pretty important one.
Just don't do that, and you're good.
Hayes, we're looking at you. No artillery striking your teammates. So again, it's easier said than done, especially for the same woes for Checkmate comparatively to Garrison. It is in a warehouse. It's very hard to be able to find value in those streaks. But where can you find value in those streaks? P2 and P3. Those are your money hills, and it is very hard to be able to lock down those rotations if you are not necessarily looking at an immediate break through the front. Or if you're just gifted the spawns from the breaks coming through from 2 or all the way from 1 as well. So very interested to see how these two teams kind of work around those certain nuances that is Garrison hardpoint, or if we're going to see some streaks to be able to break inside some of those big old money hills. And ASU Maroon, for the time being, they are trying to scramble their way inside of P1. They do have Sig, who's on side top green, starting off on the favorite side, ASU Maroon, hope to hold on to that power position.
I think you see ASU Maroon up on towards that north side of the map. You've got players number 5, 6, and 7 looking to be the first line of defense over towards not only you, but inside of square as well as the actual green satellite too. So you've got to set up for ASU Maroon. Penn State, one thing you weren't able to do great and were able to do at other points was being able to break in towards hard points. And with that first kill from Johnson, it's going to equalize things out at a 3 versus 3. You've got those back spawns towards the left side of the map. Now's the time to make that push forward and get these couple of kills.
Yeah, a nice little stabilization past the shipment square. Now we're looking at cobblestone control. It is going to be a 3v2, but Fishity takes down a teammate, so Tage just has to clean up Fishity. They will do just that. Trophy systems for good measure. ASU Maroon, they're going to be spawning in, but it's not necessarily where you're going to want to be spawning. That's why you're seeing all of the red arrows on the minimap cut their way through dark. Ken will end up reading that. They want to try to force their way towards rotation, but that's where Penn State are actually spawning at in shades on the suspended tank. We'll find 2. That is the cleanest kill feed I'll ever see in my day.
And not only do they get the kills, but they secure the scrap time over towards P2. They're all the way across the map for P3, where ASU Maroon aren't even past that halfway point on the map. They're still going to try and push back over here through green to maybe get in trash, push around through the back, but with Johnson being able to find one in middle map, looks for number 2. 2 down for Penn State. They should spawn up in towards the back with the teammates, and that's exactly what will happen. It's going to have to be a full break for ASU Maroon.
It's going to have to be through the front. There is no way you're getting through that shipment tent, not with Shades locked down over in that angle with a Krig 6 in hand. Penn, 6 and 4 start for them. Shades on 4 straight, by the way, 8 and 2. Uncharacteristic, Fishity 3 and 7, but here comes the attempt. It is 2 kills, but we're essentially just fighting for scrap time. You're not going to break the spawns off of those initial kills, and I think ASU Maroon, they fully understand that. They would love to try to keep Penn State trapped, but they're actually going to force number 2 of Shades to spawn towards the middle of the map.
Fishity will fall over by the hangar. Now it's going to be Shades, who you highlighted previously by spawning over towards point number 4, trying to push up through the map, and should be able to spot out and find Fishity here. Almost a bit of a turn and burn, however. Although the trade follows suit after the fact, there's going to be 2 players from the side of Penn State in middle map. Play number 4 on top of the bridge. That's going to be Tased, who finds the kill and can set up over towards the next hard point. They've got bridge control, they've got top green control, and proper, you know what this means? That means a spawn trap could be imminent.
It's a pretty good chemistry recipe right there for a spawn trap, if not for a successful P4. Really hard to be able to hold a lot of time off of just because of all the angles and from changing that contest spot on the top of the refrigerator. But Taze just trying to finesse ASU Maroon, still spawning in towards the east side of the map. Fishity will clear out the hard point. They desperately need this time. It is a solid 70-point lead that Penn State hold over their heads. Again, always burning the rotation. Top green is always theirs as well. Shades will drop down just to be a nuisance. But Penn State, again, always commanding the rotations. They're always in these power positions, Alex.
Cutters on the point. Traded out after finding 2 kills. Effectini looking to fly forward, but once again, they're still spawning all the way back over towards P3. Shades on top of the bridge. He's been a star for the side of Penn State inside of map number 4, and that's where the name Shades comes in handy, because when you're shining so bright, you gotta tint it back just a little bit, but fortunately enough, he continues to push forward on 4 in a row. Johnson up towards the top in caution. Should be able to find a couple if they do hop off the spawn, but fortunately enough for the side of ASU Maroon proper, they spawn back over towards the tanks, can push to the front here, and now Penn State are going to have to, for the first time in what seems like forever, make somewhat of a break.
Well, you would hope so, right? He had 3 players in the middle of the map for Penn State. They dealt with Fishity, who was behind enemy lines. And then they focused back towards the front, where Taze was left alive at like a 1v3, I think. But still, were able to get there pretty darn quickly. Shade's now up at 20-8. 12-8 for its Johnson. Ken at 13-9. You want to talk about the slaying pressure? Well, it is coming through as far as the scoreline deficit that ASU Maroon are trying to bounce back from. Nobody past 10 kills. Coders will be able to find kill number 10, but the trades have been immaculate for Penn State. The slaying power is right there following suit. And what do you do with that? It's the same thing from the checkmate control in the cornmeal. They are not allowing ASU Maroon to get comfortable on any part of the map. Yeah,
so I think with a comfortable statement here, you could say Penn State's able to win the first set of rotations.
Yeah.
We did see ASU Maroon down by 100 points in map number 1, though, at a certain point in that game, and then it was the point number 4 that allowed them to come back. They're inside point number 1 for the first time, so they're at least getting some points here. They're going to be able to win the gunfights because they've got top green control, but that doesn't last for long, as Taze is going to be able to take down Sig, and well, Taze will find a second, too, in tandem. As a 3 spree for him, but as he falls, ASU Maroon gets back in towards the hard point. Once again, this is an opportunity for that reset to come through. ASU Maroon, take a deep breath, maybe find those team pushes, find that chemistry once again, because we have not seen it yet all map number 4.
It's got to be a clinical second set of rotations for ASU Maroon. We got to start winning these gunfights. I'm talking 3-for-1s, at least being able to go 3-for-2s in certain aspects where you're dealing with the respawns, but they're focusing first and foremost on the rotation while then focusing on the contest, but that's a lot of time that Penn State were able to accrue coming off of P1. There goes the effective kill feed, all bleeding in red for ASU Maroon. They might just be able to stare at these 4 seconds, but most importantly, they got the setup over towards 2. And although Shades at 28-11, we got no streaks for this break.
Comeback City. Will it be in full effect? You've got a player over towards lights and player number 8. That's going to be Fishity looking for a few players, but it's Johnson. Quickly recognizes that the player is there in the midst of the back line and will be able to take him down. Sig versus Johnson. 1 versus 1. Holds on to the point. Everybody from the side of Penn State now is going to have to try and either funnel through middle map into square and cobble or come through the top green satellite push. And well, you know all too well, proper, that getting through that satellite, it's probably the hardest push inside of Cold War.
Yeah, you got trophy systems, and you're not making your way through cobble. Taze finally makes that play. What the snapper? I thought he almost found Coders there. Coders is going to be able to find the trade, but you know, that's really the only push that you're going to be looking at. If you don't have streaks to break inside P2, you got to push past Shipman Square. You got to get inside Cobble to try to break inside P2. But look at the rotation. Now the shoe is on the other foot for ASU Maroon. They're already threading the rotation. They know that Johnson's back here. Effectini will throw a couple shots. They'll find the kill. Those are going to be the spawns for P3 secured for ASU Maroon for the time being.
Big. ASU Maroon. You get done what you needed to do on point number 2. You come back in this game. You basically get a full 60 there, and now another opportunity for another full 60. However, Ken has different plans. The story, not yet won for the side of ASU Maroon. And as we all know, history is written by the winners. And right now, Penn State has written the majority of the book. But Johnson comes back through. Penn State finds the break. They get everybody out of the spawn. Last player alive is Coders and Tools. Will look great for ASU Maroon. Falls quickly in their face, at least preliminarily, as 4 go down. Penn State, they came in, but ASU Maroon, they retake the scrap.
You're not going to break the spawns, though, so Ken is going to be the first line of offense to try to break back in. Finds 2. There's number 3 as well. 22-18 for the lad. Going to be able to at least use those close spawns to put themselves potentially over 200 points if Johnson soaks up the last bit of the P3 hill. You got to start throwing out towards caution and from dark as well. Going to be a couple of angles and avenues that could be open on up. ASU Maroon, they're inside of P4, and they look to hold the setup.
It's a crazy mental thing, too. Once a team passes that 200-point mark and you're down by about 80 points, it really starts to put a damper on your mindset. However, still at 199, you haven't gotten to that the 200-point mark yet. So for ASU Maroon, maybe the confidence still there, but it's going to start to dwindle here as we get down to the last few hard points. Penn State can't win off of this hill, but you can surely win off the next one if you're able to hold down all the time, and we see them do it time and time again. P3 to P4, P4 to P5. Proper, this one looks like it's going to be all but over.
possible. They can't close it out here necessarily, and it's going to guarantee ourselves another hard point. And man, that's just such a scary spot. I mean, not unless that ghost second comes down, and it looks like that it just might. So ASU Maroon, they got to contest this. That kill means everything. We guarantee ourselves the 5th and final hill in this rotation, but ASU Maroon going forward only have just about 12 seconds you can give up.
Coders, first player pushing from Penn State, able to find, kill, and tactically getting towards the point. Ken on a 5 spree, though, will get shut down immediately. And as Fishity gets one there onto Johnson, Coders can come around the corner. And you start to wonder, you know, where was the slaying power from the side of ASU Maroon? We saw glimpses of it. But now when it all matters the most, they're really starting to turn up. But the infiltration in the spawn is already there. Player number 4 in Taze looks to shut down the final push from side of ASU Maroon.
17 seconds are all they need trying to fish out these kills, but ASU Maroon playing it coy inside of Cobble will hold these spawns. Coders inside of Lights will be able to take down one, but it's a 2-for-1 trade. ASU Maroon, they just gotta hold on with their spawns.
Try your might as you will. Penn State, they come marching forward. Time after time, we see them get cut down, but proper. Shades, 41-19 here in map number 4. Has not taken the foot off of the gas at all. Johnson starting to at least find a couple here, but that'll put him at even. Next point is popped. Penn State is there. 15 seconds left. Player number 8 in Fishity, you're the last person alive to make something happen. Has been having a great series until the last 2 games. 23-33 here in map number 4. You've got to push on in. Can you get there in time to contest this through? And although you might stop it here for a couple seconds, this one, it's all over proper.
Here comes a couple of streaks. Oh no, not again, Penn State! Stop it with the artillery strikes. Just use the ping. Don't call in the artillery. You're only finding team kills. In ASU Maroon, they're still inside the hill. They're still at least threatening themselves to get inside top green, but that is another good kill feed for Penn State. Ken finds 2 at the end, but Shades dropping 40 plus 250 to 175 here on the Garrison hardpoint. They will put themselves in towards losers round number 4, where Illini Orange are waiting.
ASU Maroon, they'll fall. They'll say goodbye to the Invitational bracket, but more importantly, as you said beforehand, proper, Penn State, they're moving on. That'll be the match that we at least are going to be following into our next bit of coverage here. Illini Orange, they're waiting, this Penn State squad, and they've got to be careful, though, because if anything is kind of true from this series, is that the hard point is still there from the regular season, and they built on that from the winners bracket, too.
Dude, I tell you, I mean, at the beginning of the day, Johnson came in and, you know, a lot of question marks around, like, what is this guy going to be able to do for Penn State? But throughout the entirety of the day, even walking away off that 3-0 win versus St. Clair Saints and towards that matchup where, you know, you had that AR matchup, which was a very tough one for the ARs of Penn State. They were able to win it. Not as convincingly as I'm sure that they would want to hope coming off of that raid search and destroy. But I tell you, their strides were found. And as long as they're able to keep that going and it continues to stay mixy and we're seeing the SMGs work in tandem with one another, I mean, that has the recipe for a team that is just getting better as the day goes along.
Sure. Well, folks, if you were here beforehand, you saw at least semifinal number 1 of what we have to see from the 2 versus 2 gunfight portion, but we're going to take a look at our bracket real quick to see what's going on inside of the losers bracket. Cecil Black was able to take down Texas State. They're playing Esports Purdue inside of losers round 4, and as we stated beforehand, Penn State beats ASU Maroon, and they're going to be taking on Illini Orange in losers round 4, and that's where our coverage will go here in just a moment. As I said already before, though, too, in the winners bracket, Ottawa Black, they're going to be taking on I believe, yeah, so they're going to be taking on the side of Carleton Ravens proper. That'll be tomorrow at 2:30.
Yep.
And, you know, that one's going to be crazy. I don't know really what to expect from that. Ottawa Black, sure. You could probably put them as the heavy favorites, specifically with, you know, Hawk being out. But, I mean, with Thief coming in and playing the way he has been, you really can't put anything other than an exclamation mark on that match. And maybe an asterisk next to it, because you're going to want to watch that game. It's going to be entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, Thief and Bernardo, right? The AR lineup for Carleton were lights out in that matchup that we were able to see in that win versus Esports at Purdue, who are also looking at their losers round 4 match, which is about to be going in tandem with this Illini versus Penn State match. And they have another big one ahead of them versus California State University Long Beach as well. Would love to be able to get that run back. Of course, the winner of that match will then face the winner of the one that we are following. But, I mean, it's not just 4v4 variant that we have as well, McCormick Miller. There's still a lot of gunfight to unfold.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Folks, got to remind you, Registration is now live for the $3,000 prize pool. You heard that right. $3,000 for Little Collegiate 2 versus 2 gunfight presented by Army ROTC. Mentioned beforehand, but Tournament Alpha and Tournament Bravo, 2 separate tournaments going on. You can sign up for Tournament Alpha and Tournament Bravo right now as registration is live. May 15th, though, Alpha registration closes. May 22nd, the Bravo one does too. Just sign up now. It's going to be so much easier. Procrastination is not something that you want to have for this tournament. It's an opportunity to win $3,000. And I think anybody would want to win $3,000, myself included, proper and hell. I might even want to sign up for that, but I've technically